The Marvel character known as New Goblin, introduced in The Amazing Spider-Man number 176 in 1968, represents a darker and more complicated chapter in the life of the Green Goblin legacy. While the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, is one of Spider-Man's most infamous enemies, the New Goblin takes a different approach to the iconic villain's role in Spider-Man's life, with his own unique backstory and motivations. The origin of the New Goblin is intricately tied to Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn's son. Harry, the once best friend of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, initially has no intention of becoming a villain. However, the events of The Amazing Spider-Man and Harry's tumultuous relationship with his father push him toward a tragic transformation. Unlike Norman Osborn, who initially used the Goblin persona for power and personal gain, Harry's transition into the New Goblin is driven by grief, revenge, and a desire to prove himself. Harry Osborn's journey to becoming New Goblin begins after the tragic events surrounding the death of his father, Norman Osborn, who had been killed during a fight with Spider-Man. Harry was deeply affected by his father's death and struggled with the loss, especially as he learned of his father's secret identity as the Green Goblin. His resentment toward Peter grew, as Harry was led to believe that Spider-Man was responsible for his father's death. However, Peter, despite being Harry's friend, was also dealing with his own internal conflict and the dangers that came with being Spider-Man. Harry's grief and anger consumed him, and it wasn't long before he sought revenge. In his quest for vengeance, Harry begins to take on the mantle of the Green Goblin, at first taking a modified version of the Goblin armor and weapons used by his father. His goal is to confront Spider-Man and make him pay for what he perceives to be Peter's betrayal. During his time as the New Goblin, Harry, though initially acting as a villain, finds himself conflicted between his loyalty to his father's legacy and his desire for revenge against the one person he feels has wronged him. The complex emotions and motivations behind his transformation into the New Goblin made him an intriguing character, as he was both an antagonist and a tragic figure. The New Goblin's first major confrontation with Spider-Man occurs in Spider-Man 3, where Harry, once Peter's best friend, is manipulated by his hatred and anger. Harry's mind is clouded with resentment, and he continues to use the Goblin persona to challenge Spider-Man in battle. Throughout the film, his journey shifts from a vengeful antagonist to someone who realizes that his animosity toward Peter was rooted in misunderstandings and lies. This realization comes to a head in the final confrontation between the two, where Harry ultimately sacrifices himself to save Peter, redeeming his character and breaking free of the cycle of vengeance that defined his path as the New Goblin.